This is Jared Walton from AnonTech. I'm here today looking at the Kinesis Contour Advantage keyboard. This is an ergonomic keyboard with mechanical switches, and I'm going to compare my typing impressions, my first impressions of typing on it, to a few other keyboards, mostly to show how your typing speed will adjust over time. So this is kind of the first impact experience, similar to what I did with the truly ergonomic computer keyboard, the Tech. I've got an Asus UX51 laptop here. This is just a test system. It's got a standard laptop layout, and I'm going to start my typing tests on this keyboard. And what you'll see here is I type fairly well on it. I've got some funny hand angles perhaps. I have an issue with my right pinky always sticking out. I think that's a habit of reaching for the backspace over the years. I'm going to be quiet here for a minute so you can just hear the keyboard clicking. This is actually a pretty soft keyboard sound for the Asus laptop. Now I'm just taking a test here, a typing test using the Aesop's Fables text from typingtest.com, I believe it's called. And one of the nice things about this particular speed test is that you can actually correct your mistakes. So it's, at least in my opinion, a little bit more realistic of a reflection of how people write. So on the Asus, I got a typing speed of 68 words per minute with 3 errors per minute. So that works out to an adjusted speed of 65 according to them. Next up on the keyboard list is the Roswell RK9100. This is a standard layout keyboard, but this one has Cherry MX Blue switches. So you'll hear in a moment that this is far more clicky than the Asus keyboard or any of the other ergonomic keyboards that I have, because they use Cherry MX Brown switches. Now I should note that I have not been using this standard keyboard layout for the past month and a half. I've been using the Tech keyboard, so I'm making quite a few little mistakes just because I've gotten used to using the Tech. My typing speed here is actually going to be a little bit lower than normal. Interestingly, I actually did better on the Asus keyboard, probably just a little more compact, and I've typed on it a little bit more. And maybe it's just different enough that I don't have that mental connection to it like I would with a desktop keyboard. I hit caps lock at least once that I had to correct. But overall typing speed was 62 words per minute with 1 error for a net adjusted performance of 61 words per minute. Without any adaptation, I dropped in about 10 words per minute in performance, but if I switched over to this and used it for even a day, I feel like I'd be back up to pretty close to regular speed of around 70 words per minute. Next up, I'm going to switch to the Tech keyboard. This is the truly ergonomic computer keyboard. I've reviewed this, you can see that on our site. I've been using this pretty much as my primary keyboard for the past month and a half, so I'm well adapted and adjusted to it. My initial adaptation to this was really painful for a couple of hours. It took maybe 3 days before I was up to full speed. You can hear that the keys on this keyboard are a bit louder than the Asus laptop keyboard, but they are also quieter than the Cherry MX Blue switches. You also notice that there seems to be a little bit less movement required for my hands. Probably some bad habits of typing where I reach more than I need to in order to hit like backspace. But I've still got that my right pinky is stretching out a little bit. I wish I could train myself out of doing that. I probably just need to put that pinky to better use hitting shift or something like you're supposed to, which is something I'm going to try to adapt to on the Kinesis. This is actually a bit faster than I did with the previous 2 keyboards. I accidentally hit backspace right as the test was finishing, but here I click back forward and you can see the final speed was 72 words per minute, one error, but that error was like the last thing I typed, which was why it went back and I had to go forward to get the score. 70 words per minute, 71 words per minute, whatever you want to call it. You know, a little bit faster than I've been on other keyboards. It's a good keyboard. I've had a good experience with it, but some of the keys still have a little bit of a mental hang up. The more I use it, the easier that gets to adapt to, but switching keyboards is a bit painful. So last up, we have the newcomer. This is the Kinesis Contour Advantage. It's a USB keyboard. It's got a lot of cool features that I'll discuss in a moment, but you can see it's quite a bit different than any of the other keyboards. And this is literally my first time sitting down to type on this. So what you'll notice is I'm going to make a lot of mistakes. I'm sitting here looking at the keys right now trying to, okay, where's backspace, where's space, where's enter? And I didn't actually look closely enough, so I missed the locations of a couple of keys that were important, so I really make a lot of errors on this first pass. And here we go. Now one thing I do notice almost immediately is my right pinky is down more than on the other keyboards. The contour and the way the keys are positioned on this Advantage is really kind of interesting. They've been doing this same basic layout for like 20 years, but you know, if it's not broke, don't fix it sort of thing. Anyway, I can see where a lot of it makes sense. The keys are raised and positioned such that, you know, your middle finger tends to be your longest finger, your index next, and your ring finger and pinky finger are shorter. And so you'll actually, if you look closely, you'll see that the keys kind of have differing depths depending on whether it's for your middle finger or pinky or whatever. Now, I made all sorts of errors. It gave me a words per minute of 25 with 13 errors, so an adjusted speed of 12 words per minute. But what you don't actually get from that speed is there were a bunch of cases where I couldn't figure out where the backspace was, since this was literally when I first started using it. So there were a bunch of words that were like, I typed 2 letters and I was like, I've screwed up that word, and I hit space and went on. So just all sorts of errors that make the final reported score not all that meaningful. But basically there's going to be a pretty serious adjustment needed before you can get up to full speed with a keyboard like this. So next up, I'm going to take the same keyboard, and I've been using it for about an hour and a half, and now I'm going to retake the test and see how that goes. I've been using Mavis Beacon Teaches Typing actually to adapt to using this keyboard, which is kind of handy because it sits there and walks you through home row and then some of the other letters and so on. My initial typing speeds were quite poor, down around 20 to 30 words per minute, but you adjust pretty quickly. It's kind of interesting watching the keys on the screen for Mavis Beacon because it obviously doesn't have the Kinesis layout as one of the options. You might not be able to tell just looking at the video, but I'm actually becoming far more proficient after just an hour. Even in this first pass, I actually took a break for about 15 minutes and sat back down as I connected the keyboard to the laptop. So I am making a few more errors than I did in my Mavis Beacon practicing. And I'm going to do a second pass in a second. 39 words per minute adjusted, so 45 words per minute with 6 errors. And now I'm going to go ahead and retake that same test now that my brain's a little bit more engaged and ready for this keyboard. And again, you know, I still have that right pinky reaching up, but I've been practicing using the right shift on occasion, so that can help a little bit. And I think just the contouring of the keyboard does help with the positioning of the hands a bit more. I'm a tall guy, I'm 6'3", so a little broader shouldered, which makes the separation, the wider keyboard here, definitely nice to use. The Tech tends to be a little bit more compact and might be preferable for some users. I'm still not faster on the Kinesis than I am on the Tech, by the way, but I'm improving. You'll notice that the thumbs are engaged on the space is on the right thumb, backspace is on the left thumb. And I did quite well on the second test here, 55 words per minute. So my highest speed ever, I think I got like 78, 79 words per minute on the Tech once. Usually I'm up above 70 on the Tech pretty consistently, but 70 words per minute compared to 55. I've dropped a little bit, but this is after only an hour and 15 minutes of practicing with the Kinesis, so I assume over the coming days I should adapt pretty quickly. But I should note along those lines that because I've been using the Tech, it has orthogonal key layout rather than the staggered key layout that you see on traditional keyboards. So by using the Tech for the past month and a half, I've already adapted somewhat to the move to the Kinesis Advantage. I would assume if you went straight from a regular keyboard to the Kinesis that the first couple of days are going to be as bad on it as they were on the Tech for me, which means the first hour or so I was probably sub 20 words per minute, slowly creeping up, and a lot of the key positions where like semicolons, and actually it's more like the backspace and enter space, the arrow keys and such, they've all been shifted around relative to a normal keyboard, and that's definitely going to take time to get used to. On the Kinesis though, I do want to mention that the adjustment doesn't seem quite as bad on some keys, because like the shift and the tab and the backslash, there's a lot of keys that are in a pretty typical location. Other keys, they have been moved, but they're on your thumbs and are pretty easy for me to get used to reaching. Overall, there's going to be definitely some personal preference on what you like more, but I do feel like either of these, the Tech or the Kinesis, is definitely going to help reduce the strain on your wrists and fingers, your tendinitis or carpal tunnel, whatever you might have. As a 39-year-old, that's something I have been dealing with for about a decade. So, using the natural keyboards, the split keyboards, has definitely helped me, and I feel like these super ergonomic keyboards are the next level. That's my first impression. Your first use of either the Tech or the Kinesis, you're definitely going to be slower than normal, but give it some time, a few days to a few weeks at worst, and you should be able to adapt quite well. Again, this is Jared Walton from Untitled. Thanks for watching.